saying no to the hijab, the growing resistance in Iranian universities, and a defiant stand against Iran's mandatory hijab laws. Students from multiple Iranian universities have organized a series of protests. A peaceful sit in at the National Guard campus of the Art University of Tehran epitomized their resistance, calling for an end to the strict enforcement and subsequent punishments related to hijab noncompliance within academic institutions. The Iranian security forces swiftly responded, arresting over 10 students and detaining several others for hours. Amid these repressive actions, a potent symbol of resistance emerged with the Persian hashtag Na, translating to no, trending on Twitter as a sign of solidarity with the student protesters. Fueling this no campaign, a powerful statement from the students emerged declaring, quote, "We who have become us for almost a year now have nothing to say to you except the word no. We reiterate that we will not turn back." This bold academic uprising has garnered its extensive support from other colleges and universities in Iran, highlighting the burgeoning unrest against the Islamic Republic's control over individual freedoms. So, Armin, this is a very important campaign that's been trending for a while now on Persian social media. All my friends, I'm just constantly seeing hashtag nah, like everywhere. So please tell us like more about this campaign, what you've been seeing, what you think the impact has been, that kind of thing.
The main impact is to show that the revolution is not over. Is going from one phase to another. It's taking different forms, but it's still alive and continues. And how weak the government has become. It's people are demonstrating how unable the government has been in enforcing these laws, and how every time they come up and introduce a new norm and new standards, it's one step is basically giving in, right? It's a it's a surrender of the government to the people demand. And a lot of people think that that's not we shouldn't be satisfied with that. We shouldn't be happy with that, because this would be reducing the revolution to just the hijab and stuff, and we want to topple this government. I completely disagree with that. I think that the Iranian people will not be satisfied with their government just because they have more lax hijab laws. I think in fact it does the opposite, because people think like this is going to make people be satisfied and stop taking action against the regime and protesting against the regime, fighting against the regime. I think that's not the case. I think it's actually it's a demonstration to the people that the government is weak, that the people have the upper hand, that their fight has not been for none. Because imagine if you didn't even get this, then if you didn't get this, then people would think that they got nothing out of getting so many people killed, so many people died, so many people were arrested, so many people lost their eyes, right? There was so much blood, so many executions. And if you don't get any victories, then they will not continue the fight, because it was all for naught. But if the government backtracks, if the government surrenders to the people, even if the regime was not toppled, people will see that they got something out of their struggle, something out of their fight, and they will encourage them to continue the fight in the future. So I think what we're just saying right now is nothing compared to just like 2 years ago with the government. Like, this is unimaginable for people 2 years ago for women to just not have the hijab in universities. Like, forget this. You have to understand, the battle is being reduced now to the universities, because the streets have been taken over, right? The streets, people are showing up in parties and streets and movie theaters without the hijab all the time. This is where now the battle is being, the universities and some other places is where the fight is being still. And they will conquer this area as well. Anyways, that's all my thoughts.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see like this take off across social media, because the uprising in Iran like definitely is entering a different phase. We haven't seen mass demonstrations out on the street that we have, I mean, obviously in the beginning, but people need to understand that this is actually a natural evolution of a movement, and it should be expected, and it's like developmentally appropriate, so to speak. And there are studies about this, right? This is following the normal trends of movements across history, and it's entering into new phases. And so I wanted to cover this to show that, one, like, this struggle isn't over, that this is still something that is very relevant. And have you been seeing any like backlash to this campaign? Like any criticisms? What do you think is the most positive thing that's come out of this?
Well, no, I mean, most people are celebrating it, except some few people like that think there's religious anti-regime people who, in the name of trying to protect Islamic standards, they think they don't. I feel like they are sometimes not being that honest, right? Because they don't like how a lot of the symbols of this revolution is anti-Islamic, right? So instead of saying that out loud, saying that's because they're Muslims themselves, right? And they are against the regime and they don't like this trend. But instead of saying that they're trying to protect their Islam, they're saying that these are the pro regime. They accuse people like me of being of playing for the regime, either knowingly or unknowingly, by trying to reduce this revolution to the hijab, right? And they're saying like, don't make this revolution about the hijab because they say that this is the Islamic Republic's plan. They're trying to make this entire revolution about hijab, and then eventually they will give you voluntarily hijab and remove mandatory hijab so that they could end the revolution. But I think that they're using that narrative as a way to direct attention away from the anti-Islamic elements of this revolution, and I think that's a mistake because this entire regime, its entire base is Islamic, and the Islamic ideology is the government's soft power. It has weaponized its religious identity, and to fight this regime, you have to fight its ideology. You have to fight its base, which is the Islamic ideology that it has. It has so far been very successful because of the anti-Islamic nature that it has. So I think it's such a disservice. It's such a betrayal to the revolution to try to take that away from
it. Yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know. I think I don't know. I can't really disclose this much, but it just makes me think about some of the Atheist Republic members that we have inside Iran right now that are young women that I'm friends with them, and I see them posting like them just like walking around without the hijab like all the time. And I'm like, wow, look at these girls. Like so badass. I never want to be called brave when we have people in our own community who are doing that and taking that risk. And I see it firsthand. It's incredible. Should speak because we're having an Iran related segment. You wanted me to maybe show this. Should we do that or no?
Yes, this show it. Of course.
Okay,
Wait,
so
hold on.
guys, yesterday I went to an Iranian festival and it was so much fun. And there was a guy who was so nice, and he was Armin, come back. He was doing calligraphy for free. Like I really wanted to give him something for it, right? But he refused to let me pay him. And so I got two calligraphies that I requested. And so this one is one of my favorites. This says Azadito Nafrush, which means don't sell your freedom. Okay. But then this one is the special one. Armin, tell people, what does this say?
It says Jomhuriye Bi Khodayan, which means Atheist Republic in Persian. That's so beautiful.
And amazing. You know what was so funny? I didn't tell you this yet. When he so he gave me the other one first, and then he did this one, and he did this calligraphy, and I was kind of talking to him. He's like, oh, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual, and blah blah blah, and I've had my own journey. And we're talking, and he did the calligraphy for this, and he sat there for a second, and he looked at it before he looked at me, and it was kind of like I saw him thinking to himself about what he just did when he made this. And he goes, where I'm from, this is a crime.
Oh.
To make this. And it was so interesting for me to like see him do it and then like look at it and like reflect and be like, whoa, like think about what I just did. And say that to me. He's like, did you know that? I'm like, oh yes, I know that. Yeah. I told them, I'm like, this
Oh,
is why we're an
I know the
organization.
feeling.
We're an organization for people who want to be able to do something like this. You know? Yeah. So that
You
was
know,
just
I
really
kn-
cool.
I so know what he's talking about, because you know, once you're not in Iran anymore, and sometimes you just randomly do things, and you're like, wait, I'm just doing something that is illegal, and here it's not. You know what I mean? It just feels weird. You know what I mean? Because you lived so much under a place where like you had to worry about doing something like that, and now you're like, is this like you think about it like this was illegal before? I don't know how to explain the feeling, but I get what he was when you're telling me that he wrote that and he looked at it and he thought about that. I think I know exactly the feeling that he's talking about, because I had that feeling.
Yeah.
Oh,
It kind of reminds me when you would tell the story about when you would read the Quran and actually touch the name of Allah, and you were like, whoa,
yeah.
like I can do this
Exactly.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
We got a super chat by
Nice.
GJ.
Oh, this is related to one of our previous segments.
Oh,
GJ gave us
yeah, we
6
forgot. Sorry,
zeros.
we forgot to
Thank
highlight
you.
that.
Saying the current avalanche of the USA superhero films just effing sucks. No offense to Stan Lee, but a lot of comics should just remain comics. Hey, look, I agree. I don't like superhero movies at all. Yeah.
But who cares? Other people like them. They're, you know, I mean, here's a
because I
solution.
want some
Or
original content. God damn. Not recycled.
okay, but they're making original content. If you don't like this, just don't watch it.
Yeah, and I don't.
I mean, have you seen Dune? Have you seen Dune? That's beautiful.
Dune was kind of boring.
I liked it.
Dune was very slow. I'm not gonna lie.
I like that it was slow. You know, it's just like it's like okay. Why you get visibly upset when I'm enjoying something that you don't? Look at your face.
I'm so sorry.
I
I'm so
like.
sorry. I'm
Look
so
at
sorry.
the way she's like, hey, I didn't do that to what you like. Okay.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Oh, Cena is celebrating his 15-month membership. I can't highlight it because it's like when I celebrate 15-month membership, it doesn't stream it. It doesn't let me highlight it. It says, "Well, that's like your opinion, man." Did you know what I mean? Right? I can't do voices. The
I don't know what that
meme.
means.
Well, that's like your opinion, man. Okay. If I had time, I would go find it and show you. But I know what you're referring to. I know that reference. Cena. I know it. I know what you're talking about. It's a funny meme.
I see what you did there.
Anyway, I see what you did there.
And thank you for being a member.
Yes, thank you for 15 months of membership.